Okay, so our first question comes in from a guy called Derek, and it's quite a long question, but you can feel his passion in this question. He says, I've been a long time follower of your work. Thank you for what you do. I know you can't provide specific questions in the form of dosage, etc., but I want to ask you a broad question because my family is plagued at the moment. I have three kids under 14. We all take 2 grams of vitamin C every day. In winter, we supplement that with vitamin D, and we have good tested levels all year round. We supplement with niacin, minerals, fish oil, probiotics, and some others, leaning towards, and I'm not sure what that word is, Ayurveda principles.
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda. On top of this, we eat whole organic foods with no colours preservatives. We cook about 50% vegetarian, and 95% of our meals are eaten at home. However, we still seem to get sick all the time. When the signs creep in, we megadose with vitamin C, usually to no avail. When my 6-year-old gets sick, it goes to her lungs and she has a chronic cough. I also have a middle child who seems to have clearly defined ADHD symptoms. It's very frustrating to say the least, and I can't find a doctor or alternative practitioner who can make any sense of this. Would you have any advice on what I can do or what I am doing wrong?
Well, that is about 8 or 9 questions and no mistake, and this is typical of what so many people have on their mind. We have families, we have friends, and we have multiple health problems. There are short answers, and there are medium answers, and there are long answers. I'm going to give you the long answer first, and I'm going to give it to you in the short form. You're going to have to read a lot. You're really going to have to read a lot. Doctor Yourself is probably the best book to start with. Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone is right there next to it. Doctor Yourself is by me. It's in its 2nd edition. It's 400 pages, and it is fun to read. Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone is by Dr. Abram Hoffer and myself, and that's 400 pages, and it's not quite as much fun to read as Doctor Yourself, but it is more authoritative because Dr. Hoffer was the world authority on nutritional therapy. And I want to just qualify that because a lot of people are thinking, Linus Pauling. Well, guess who got Linus Pauling interested in it?
Wow.
It was Abram Hoffer's book that Linus Pauling happened to pick up one day. It was on a coffee table at a friend's house. Pauling was visiting there, picked up the book, and read Dr. Hoffer's How to Live with Schizophrenia, a small book that Dr. Hoffer published in the early 60s. Pauling stayed up all night reading that book and decided, he was about 65 at the time, he decided the next day that he wasn't going to retire after all. He was going to look into vitamins. And that resulted in some of the greatest contributions to medicine of the 20th century, Linus Pauling's publication of Vitamin C and the Common Cold. Abram Hoffer, then, is an authority, and you want to read him. So these 2 books you're going to have to read. That's my long answer. Now for the short answer. What popped out in that question to me was the arbitrarily, pardon me for saying this, but the arbitrarily low amount of vitamin C, 2,000 milligrams. Well, why? Why 2,000? Dr. Frederick Robert Quenner suggested that you give your kids their age in 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. So he'd have a 2-year-old taking 2,000 milligrams. A 10-year-old would be taking 10,000 milligrams. Now, that doesn't mean that an adult would be taking 49,000 milligrams if they're 49, but there's a leveling of the curve. When I raised my kids all the way into college without 1 dose of any antibiotic ever, pediatricians that they never met, we'd get a card from the practice saying who was retiring and who was new, and we just got these postcards because we never went. They did get physicals, by the way. My kids got physicals at school by a physician. We gave our children half their age in vitamin C grams. In other words, when they were 2, they got 1,000 milligrams. When they were 6, they got 3,000 milligrams. When they were 10, they got 5,000 milligrams. I think that's higher than the amount mentioned in the letter. A sick child needs more. When my daughter had a real bad cough, she was getting 4,000 milligrams an hour. She also got better in a matter of hours. When I had viral pneumonia, I was taking 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C every 6 minutes I was awake. I think that's 20,000 milligrams an hour. In 3 hours and 60,000 milligrams, my severe cough stopped and my fever came down 3 degrees. Not bad with viral pneumonia, for which there really isn't any specific cure except bed rest. 3 hours. Vitamin C has to be taken to bowel tolerance. Bowel tolerance means exactly what you think it means. This is the work of Dr. Robert Fulton Cathcart, a physician in California. Dr. Cathcart noted that the sicker people are, the more vitamin C they hold before they get to bowel tolerance. A dry sponge holds more milk. So if a child that is well at 2,000 milligrams is well at 2,000 milligrams, you're done. If a child is taking 2,000 milligrams and isn't well, you have a need that you can either meet or you can discuss why you don't want to meet it. I found that you cannot win an argument with your body. So if a child is ill, what I do is, and what I did with my kids, and what I still do, and what they now do with the grandchildren, is we take the vitamin C to bowel tolerance. And that's a self-evident, non-technical way of monitoring your intake. You take enough C to be symptom-free, but not so much as causes loose stool. And a rumble in the stomach or gas, flatulence, that's close enough. The idea is not to give everyone diarrhea. The idea is to have everyone free of symptoms. And there's a very definite spot, and this spot will vary from person to person, and from day to day, and from illness to illness. So in sickness, the need for vitamin C is extraordinarily high. And when you're well, a relatively small amount can do it. Another thing I noticed was absent in that question was an emphasis on vegetable juicing. This is an obvious, easy thing to correct. Get a juicer, give those kids vegetable juice. And if you tell me they don't like it, I'm going to tell you that you're not a clever enough parent. If you are any kind of Tom Sawyer at all, you should be able to con your kids into drinking vegetable juice. It can be done. I recommend bribery. I used to tell my kids, you don't have to drink your vegetable juice, but if you don't get better, we're going to take you to the doctor, and quite frankly, the doctor will give you a medication and probably a shot. It's just amazing how they opened their minds, their hearts, and their gullets to vegetable juice after that. But what was really gratifying was when I had a sneeze or a sniffle or a cough, and the house would echo with the sound of little voices saying, "Daddy, you need more C. Daddy, you need to start juicing again."
Well, that's a very comprehensive answer. Thank you for that. This one you'll have heard many, many times. Someone writing in saying, I'm taking 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, but aren't I just paying for the privilege of having expensive urine?
Well, you know, when antibiotics were first developed around the time of the Second World War, they were very expensive. They were so expensive that soldiers collected their urine after they'd had antibiotic therapy. So soldiers given antibiotics would have their urine collected, and then the antibiotics would be processed out of their urine. I think it's fair to say that antibiotics saved many, many lives of combat casualties. All those soldiers had really expensive urine. Now, vitamin C is about $35 a kilogram, considerably cheaper than most pharmaceutical products, that's for sure, some of which are $35 for 3 tablets. The other thing we have to remember is this, a little common sense physiology, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to point out that anything that's in your urine was in your blood, because your blood is basically purified urine, or your urine is purified blood. Depends how you look at it. But your kidneys filter your blood like an aquarium filter. All of your blood goes through your kidneys. And your kidneys extract the wastes in a liquid fraction, and that's urine. So your kidneys filter your blood, and they filter out urine. So anything that's in that urine was in the blood. Now, if it was in the blood, you must have absorbed it.
Mm.
People have a misconception. They think like an old timer who's at the bottom of the Hoover Dam. The old timer at the bottom of the Hoover Dam looks and sees that there's water coming down the spillways. Look at all that water coming down the spillways. Well, why have the dam if you got all that water coming down the spillway? Well, that's a waste of water. Thought that dam was supposed to hold the water back for when we need it. Now, the engineer who has an office at the top of the dam is looking behind him, and he sees this huge lake formed by the dam. And the engineer knows that when the dam is full, the extra water has to be released down the spillway. That's why they're called spillways. That's what they're for. So water coming down the spillways indicates that the dam is full. When you can waste vitamin C, it means you've got it to waste. You want to know what's a sign of scurvy, of vitamin C deficiency? An absence of vitamin C in the urine. And that is a dangerous situation. And many, probably most people in civilized nations have that very problem. It's a good thing to be wasting a little bit of vitamin C in your urine. It's also a good thing to be wasting B vitamins in your urine. Extra B6 helps prevent bladder cancer. Extra vitamin C helps to prevent urinary tract infections. So you've been sold a bill of goods. You've been told that if it's in your urine, you didn't absorb it. No, 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 no. If it's in your urine, you absorbed it all right. You just have a little surplus. You know, it's easier to put a $20 bill in the Salvation Army pot at Christmas time if you're a millionaire.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, well, a very quick one, and you'll understand this one because you were talking yesterday about when you were in Africa and coming back from Africa and the poverty thing sort of striking you. We have a question come in from a gentleman in India who says basically he can't afford vitamins, but he has a very, very small plot of land, and he would like your advice on what's the most nutritious thing he could grow on that plot of land for himself.
That's a really fine question. The best thing to do is to have that land and grow any kind of vegetable or fruit that you can get. You can't go wrong. Fruits and vegetables are categorically nutrient dense. They have lots of good stuff in them. And if you grow them organically and you have a variety, you have financial independence because you can tell the politicians and the food processors what they can do with their restrictions and demands on you. If everybody had their own land and had their own garden, we would be well on our way to a healthier, happier world. Whatever you can grow is good. I happen to grow easy stuff. I grow green beans, beets, cabbage, broccoli, zucchini squash, winter squash. I have a lot of black raspberry plants, which were wild, that I've cultivated, and now I've got hundreds of them. That's free. Tomatoes, potatoes. If you can and you want to grow sweet potatoes are fabulous. I don't grow carrots because I'm just not very good at it, but I am the baron of beets. I mean, I can grow beets like there's no tomorrow, so I figure, okay, I'll buy the organic carrots and I mix them with organic beets and I make carrot beet juice, which, by the way, tastes a whole lot better than you think it does. So what should you do? You should grow anything green, any kind of vegetables that you like, that your family will eat, that you can afford the seed for. And if you're really poor and you can't even afford the seed, do what I do, recycle your seed year to year. When I grow green beans, I let 10% of them stay out in the garden, and then the pods dry and the beans inside dry, and around October or so, the end of the growing season, I bring those in. I have my beans all set for next year. The same with broccoli. You can let broccoli go to seed and then harvest the pods. You can do this with lettuce. You can let lettuce go to seed and harvest the seed. With tomatoes, you never eat all the tomatoes you have. Some are spoiled, some are green, some are misshapen, some you forget. You can take those tomatoes and you can save the seed there, or just leave the tomatoes in the garden and they'll seed themselves. There's all kinds of cheap ways to do this. You can even let carrots go to seed. In fact, practically anything will go to seed, and you can save the seed or let it seed itself for the next year. This is no-cost gardening. Potatoes, perfect example. I plant potatoes. I never buy potatoes, ever. They're crummy. The ones in the store, I gave up. They're bruised and tasteless and shrivelly and yeah. So I simply grow my own potatoes. If people have potatoes and they sprout eyes or they go bad, I plant them. When I dig up potatoes, I always miss a few. And when I dig them up, I often get these tiny little ones that are smaller than a gumball. I save all those little tiny potatoes, and then I plant them. And from each one of those, I get a potato vine with 6 or 7 or 8 potatoes next year. I actually plant my potatoes in the fall. Now in India, the growing rules are different, but you get the idea. So the answer is grow anything you can, because fresh produce is healthy and cheap, and it will provide you with huge amounts of nutrients. Another thing you can do is sprout wheat. Sprouted wheat you can do indoors. Some people use little trays of dirt, but I just sprout it like you'd sprout alfalfa or lentils. Just a little bit of water, soak them overnight, rinse and drain twice a day. You'll get wheat and lentils sprouted in a day or two. The nutrition goes up when you do that.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Last question for this session, and this is from a lady called Jean. A big admirer of your work and a believer in vitamin C, hoping you can answer this. Lately, including the last week when I've been suffering from a URI, I've noticed I have a very low bowel tolerance for vitamin C, i.e. reactions at just a few grams. I thought at first it was due to chewable forms, so changed that, but it hasn't helped. Normally I can take 14 grams without reaction when I'm not sick, but at the moment 2 grams is really affecting me. Could it be the extra niacin I've added to my supplement regimen recently? I don't know what to do about this.
I'm not sure either, but there is no magic bullet, there is no monotherapy for illness. And I think it might be a good idea to reevaluate your situation and ask yourself this question. To quote Clint Eastwood in one of his most famous movie roles, you've got to ask yourself just one question. Do you feel lucky? If you feel that you can negotiate with your body and just try this and that, you're probably going to be in for a surprise. I strongly suspect that if you were to get into vegetable juicing in a big way and take a very careful look at your overall diet, you might want to be sure that you're doing lots of juicing, having a plant-based diet, exercising, in addition to taking your supplements. Now, I'm not offering a criticism or condemnation here, but just kind of a caution for everyone. It would be nice if vitamin C were always the answer, but that's not necessarily the case. If you're taking more vitamin C and it's not working, it's possible that you actually are missing on something else that you should be doing. But it's also possible to have a condition, say like the stomach flu or intestinal flu, where diarrhea is a symptom of the virus. Paradoxically, Dr. Robert Cathcart said that as your C level goes up, the loose stool will stop. Now, before you think that I'm just sitting here pontificating, I would like to mention that there have been several times in my life when I have not been able to take much vitamin C. I was sick, and I wanted to take the C. And with my background and understanding of this, you can understand how I would be understanding it. That, oh, yeah, I got to follow my own advice. Oh, there's a bummer. But I couldn't. I just couldn't stand the thought of taking any more of that darn vitamin C powder and juice. So what I did was I started doing more vegetable juices. I did some juice fasting. I did a clean out. I did a detoxification. I did a 6 weeks detoxification. And you know something? It worked. So don't put all your eggs in one nutritional basket. It's real important to look at this in a broad approach. If you're a musician, you need all the notes to write a symphony. If you're an author, you need all the vowels and all the other letters as well. Consider very seriously doing a nice detox. And the simplest way to do a detox that is a chance to clean your body out and build your immune system is to do vegetable juice fasting.
Thank you, Andrew. We leave it there today, folks. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so our first question comes in from a guy called Derek, and it's quite a long question, but you can feel his passion in this question. He says, I've been a long-time follower of your work. Thank you for what you do. I know you can't provide specific questions in the form of dosage, etc., but I want to ask you a broad question because my family is plagued at the moment. I have 3 kids under 14. We all take 2 grams of vitamin C every day. In winter, we supplement that with vitamin D, and we have good tested levels all year round. We supplement with niacin, minerals, fish oil, probiotics, and some others, leaning towards, and I'm not sure what that word is, Ayurveda principles?
Ayurveda, multiple health problems. There are short answers, and there are medium answers, and there are long answers. I'm going to give you the long answer first, and I'm going to give it to you in the short form. You're going to have to read a lot. You're really going to have to read a lot. Doctor Yourself is probably the best book to start with. Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone is
symptoms. It's very frustrating to say the least, and I can't find a doctor or alternative practitioner who can make any sense of this. Would you have any advice on what I can do or what I am doing wrong?
Well, that is about 8 or 9 questions and no mistake, and this is typical of what so many people have on their mind. We have families, we have friends, and we have
Ayurveda. On top of this, we eat whole organic foods with no colors preservatives. We cook about 50% vegetarian, and 95% of our meals are eaten at home. However, we still seem to get sick all the time. When the signs creep in, we megadose with vitamin C, usually to no avail. When my 6-year-old gets sick, it goes to her lungs and she has a chronic cough. I also have a middle child who seems to have clearly defined ADHD